Steve Jobs told Stanford's graduating class exactly how to make impossible decisions, and almost everyone who watched completely missed it. 15 million views, countless follow your dreams quotes, inspirational posters in college dorms everywhere. But this speech isn't motivational. It's mechanical. It's a decision-making algorithm disguised as a commencement address. And by the end of this video, you'll have the exact 4-part filter Jobs used to cut through uncertainty, ignore consensus, and build things that change the world. I've also put together a 1-page cheat sheet that breaks down all 4 filters into something you can actually use. I'll tell you how to grab it for free in a minute, but first, you need to understand why everyone gets this speech wrong. Here's what most people forget about the day this speech was given. Steve Jobs was 50 years old. He had built Apple, lost Apple, built Pixar, rebuilt Apple. And exactly 1 year before standing on that stage, he had been told he was going to die. Pancreatic cancer, months to live, then surgery, then survival, at least for now. So when this man stood in front of those graduates, he wasn't giving a pep talk. He was handing them a survival manual for decisions that can't be solved with logic. The speech has 3 stories and 1 final insight. Let me decode each one. First, connecting the dots backward. Jobs opened with a story that sounds like luck. It isn't. He dropped out of Reed College, couldn't afford it, had no plan. But instead of leaving, he crashed on friends' floors and wandered into a calligraphy class. Typefaces, spacing, the art of beautiful lettering. Completely useless for a career. Completely irrational to study. 10 years later, he built that exact knowledge into the Macintosh. The first computer with beautiful typography. The foundation that made Apple different. Now here's the psychological trap most people fall into. Logical thinkers optimize for known variables. They want proof the path works before they take it. But original outcomes don't come from optimized paths. They come from unexplainable interests that only make sense in reverse. Jobs couldn't have planned calligraphy into Mac typography. The connection didn't exist until he created it. His exact words: "You can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backward." This is filter 1. Act on signal, not certainty. Don't wait to see the whole staircase. Take the step that feels true, even if you can't explain why. Second, identity is the prison. At 30 years old, Steve Jobs was publicly fired from the company he built. Think about that. He didn't just lose a job. He lost the thing that told him who he was. Most people would have collapsed. Jobs said it was the best thing that ever happened to him. Here's why. When your identity is attached to an outcome, a title, a company, a relationship, you become fragile. Every decision gets filtered through one question. Will this protect who I think I am? That's ego running the show. And ego doesn't take risks. Ego plays defense. But when Jobs lost Apple, he lost that attachment by force. And in losing it, he gained freedom. He started Next. He bought Pixar. He experimented without needing the world's permission. 11 years later, Apple bought Next for $400 million, and Jobs walked back in as CEO. The thing that destroyed him became the thing that rebuilt him, but only because he stopped protecting the old version. This is filter 2. Detach your identity from outcomes. If your self-worth requires a specific result, you've already lost. Quick note. If these filters are landing for you, I've put together a free 1-page PDF that lays out all 4 filters with the exact questions to ask yourself when you're stuck on a decision. Link is in the description. Grab it now so you don't forget. Jobs' third point sounds like motivation poster garbage. The only way to do great work is to love what you do. But listen to what he's actually saying. He's not talking about passion. He's talking about patience. If you only love the outcome, the money, the recognition, the making it, you will quit when it gets hard. But if the process itself sustains you, you can stay in the game long enough for compounding to work. Jobs spent 11 years in the wilderness. 11 years building Next and Pixar while everyone questioned if he was finished. He kept going because the work mattered, not the scoreboard. This is filter 3. Fall in love with the work, not the results. This is where Jobs stopped teaching and started confessing. He told the graduates he had faced death, that he had looked at his family knowing he might not see them again. And then he said something that should have stopped everyone in their seats. Remembering that you are going to die is the best way I know to avoid the trap of thinking you have something to lose. Read that again. Most of the fears that stop you, embarrassment, failure, criticism, looking stupid, only exist because you've forgotten the clock is running. When you hold death in your peripheral vision, the equation flips. This is filter 4. Use your mortality as a lens. It burns away every false priority. Here's what most people miss. Jobs wasn't smarter than everyone else. He was clearer. When he returned to Apple in 1997, the company had dozens of products. Jobs didn't innovate by adding. He cut the product line down to 4. If you don't know what you're building toward, every opportunity looks equal. But if you have clarity, real clarity, the decision becomes obvious. Not how to be inspired, how to be clear. Let me give you the 4 filters one more time. Filter 1. Trust the dots will connect. Filter 2. Detach your identity from outcomes. Filter 3. Love the process, not the applause. Filter 4. Use your mortality as a decision lens. If this changed how you think about making hard decisions, hit subscribe. Comment below if this reframed how you think about decisions. Next video, I'll be decoding the mental traps that quietly ruin smart people. You don't want to miss that one. Stay tuned.